We've joined by two eminent experts on the show this Monday evening. R. Jagannathan, editorial director of Swaraj magazine, and Aarti Judith, columnist and political analyst. Thank you so much, Jaggi and Aarti, for joining us here on ET Now. Jaggi, I'm going to start off with you. Has this sort of name taken you by surprise? And would you call it sort of a political masterstroke by the government?
Well, I don't think anybody in India or anywhere will claim that he knew this kind of announcement was coming. So certainly it took everybody by surprise, and not least me, because I was not expecting any such thing. So it is that. But in retrospect and with hindsight, one can say it might actually be a very good move, because one is the government has managed to get the opposition, catch them by surprise, so they don't know what hit them. Second thing, I think given the context of all that has been happening with Gaurakshaks and other things, and the fact that some Dalits have also been angry with the government, this is a very good move. And also, let's not forget that even from a larger perspective, elevating somebody who is already a governor to president is a good precedent, because somebody who is already moved out of conventional politics, whereas all previous presidents have been coming almost directly from the party into the presidency, which can hardly call them non-partisan. So I think it's probably a good good precedent to set, though I think even Pratibha Patil came back from being a governor. But the point about it is, I think overall, I think in retrospect, one can certainly say that this is a good move, and it will probably divide the opposition, and the NDA is sure to sail through with this election.
Aarti, why do you think that this government not pick up political heavyweight? I mean, of course, there have been a lot of precedents in the past where, the government of the day hasn't necessarily picked up political heavyweight, but, Pranab Mukherjee was a heavyweight, and of course, circumstances were different as to why he was made the president. I don't want to go there, but why do you think that the government not choose to pick a political heavyweight, someone like a Sumitra Mahajan or a Sushma Swaraj, and these names were doing the rounds as well?
Governments of the day usually like to send out political messages and political signals through their choice of president. For instance, Indira Gandhi chose Zail Singh, who was not a political heavyweight, although he had been home minister. He was more of a loyalist. But, she wanted to send a signal to the Sikhs by making the first Sikh president of India. The United Front chose K.R. Narayanan because they wanted to send a signal of the first Dalit, in Rashtrapati Bhavan. The Congress UPA chose Pratibha Patil because they wanted to send a woman to Rashtrapati Bhavan. And so, I don't think it's really a question of whether, it's a lightweight or a heavyweight. It's the symbolic value of the person that you're choosing. And in this case, obviously, Govind's, non-controversial career, his low-profile nature, and his Dalit credentials, which are the most important, and the fact that he comes from the RSS stable, he's a Swayam Sevak. These are, I think, the four things that really work in his favor, and, that is why he's been chosen.
But Jaggi, just to pick the point that Aarti was making on the political signal, is this a political, the political signal is clear, right? They're trying to appeal to the Dalit voter out there. Did one expect the NDA to also play the same sort of politics that we've seen successive Congress governments to play, which is use this also as an opportunity to send a political signal? We saw what the NDA government did under Vajpayee when they picked someone like Abdul Kalam as a president, again, breaking all sort of, precedents in the past. In that sense, is it disappointing that the government has resorted to the same type of politics that we've seen for 50 years, which is use every opportunity to send a relevant political signal?
No, I think two purposes are served by deciding who your presidential nominee will be. One is, of course, to send the political signal to the right constituency. The second thing is governments tend to choose nominees for president, people who they are likely to be comfortable with. Don't forget that the president plays a crucial role immediately after the election, especially if there is a possibility of a hung assembly or a hung parliament or whatever. At that stage, having a friendly president helps. Otherwise, actually, the presidential role is largely ceremonial. So governments tend to choose people they are comfortable with, and that's the reason. I think Vajpayee was comfortable with Kalam, somebody was comfortable with Narayanan. I think Indira Gandhi was comfortable with V.V. Giri and not Sanjeeva Reddy, who belonged to the old syndicate. So I think prime ministers and parties in power tend to choose somebody who they are comfortable with politically, so that they don't get thrown into some kind of quandary if they take decisions that embarrass the government. So I think in that sense this is a good choice from Mr. Modi's point of view, and I think yes, people will play politics, and it's now too late in the day after 70 years of independence to think that parties and choose presidents for purely apolitical reasons. They don't do that anymore, and I think it's foolish to expect that.
Yeah, we don't live in a utopian world for sure. Foolish to expect that, says Jaggi. But Aarti, let's talk about the fallout now. What do you see? What do you see the Congress do? Because this would have probably caught them by surprise, and the whole argument is that they weren't taken into confidence, and that in the meeting that three BJP leaders, which is Rajnath Singh, Venkaiah Naidu, and Arun Jaitley had with the Congress leadership, this name wasn't discussed. I would reckon probably even those three BJP leaders didn't know that we had Kovind as the next presidential candidate. So what's your own sense? What do you expect the Congress to do now?
Well, again, I think for Narendra Modi, he's virtually got the numbers with him, all right? I mean, the NDA has 48.5% of the votes in the Electoral College. The TRS has already announced support. I don't see any reason why, say, AIDMK or BJD, one of the two parties, should also not announce support for him. So, I mean, I think as far as the numbers are concerned, he's quite comfortably placed, and, his candidate will get elected. But, this election, and this is not the first time that it's happening. It happened in the last election. It happened in the election before. It happened in so many other presidential elections. I think Narendra Modi would like to use this election to cause a split in the ranks of the opposition. As you know, the opposition has been trying to form this Mahagathbandhan, a kind of anti-Modi, anti-BJP front. And these 18 parties have already had about 2 or 3 meetings. It's in sort of a very nascent stage, and this presidential poll was going to be an opportunity to test the strength of this Mahagathbandhan against the BJP. Now, if Narendra Modi can drive a wedge in the ranks of the opposition, cause a split, cause some kind of attrition in that, that Mahagathbandhan, that budding Mahagathbandhan, I think he would have scored a major political victory. And I think that's really what he's looking at. So, I mean, some important signals have come out today. One is, I think, the sort of non-committal comments from Nitish Kumar. In fact, Nitish Kumar has been fairly positive about the choice of candidate. He went immediately to Raj Bhavan to call on the governor. He said he was very happy that the governor of Bihar has been, chosen as a candidate. Of course, he was non-committal on the issue of supporting him. And then I heard, Samajwadi Party leader Naresh Agarwal talk about the fact that, this Kovind hails from UP. Now, if Kovind will be the first president of India from UP, mind you, UP has sent 8 of our 14 prime ministers, but it has never had a president. So Kovind would be the first president from UP. So I think Modi has chosen Kovind with some very, very shrewdly keeping these factors in mind. And if he can get, say, the Samajwadi Party to break away from this Mahagathbandhan, if he can get Nitish to break away from the Mahagathbandhan, I think he would have scored a major political victory as far as this opposition is concerned.
Was he going to drive a wedge in this so-called Mahagathbandhan? An opportunistic alliance will remain opportunistic as well. And so when it suits them, a wedge can easily be driven, and it's unlike Aarti was pointing out, we've already heard even Mayawati sort of indicate her support for this candidate, SP also speaking favorably, Nitish Kumar. So as things stand, it's only Mayawati and left who've taken a clear position against Kovind's candidature. Jaggi?
Yes, actually it's not just about sowing confusion in the opposition ranks. it has also flummoxed the Shiv Sena actually, because the Shiv Sena's power comes from the opposition being able to coalesce together. Then the Shiv Sena can become a tilting factor in that opposition unity and demand its own pound of flesh from the government, from the Modi dispensation. Now Shiv Sena, if you see, has been raring to go against the BJP government in Maharashtra, because it is still licking its wound from the last local body elections and also the main assembly elections in 2014. So they are fighting for their political future. So they would like to seek every opportunity to embarrass the government. But by choosing Kovind, they have actually put the Shiv Sena in a bind. Now they can't go around trying to oppose Modi, because they tried everything to confuse the government and make it difficult for them. But now they are in a bind, because they have to now decide whether they will go with a split opposition or come up with yet another alternative. So you see, even the allies have he has actually gently finished the Shiv Sena this time. So it's not just sowing confusion in the opposition ranks, it has also tripped the Shiv Sena here.
Okay, final round of questions, and I think one will have to sort of give it to the government and the Prime Minister that this is a political masterstroke. But let's talk about the manner in which this whole appointment has unfolded, or this candidature has been unfolded. And Aarti, I alluded to it a short while ago. It's not as if too many people were in the know. It's not as if too many discussions happened. It's not as if too many political consultation happened, both within the party or with the allies or with other parties. It's almost as if, one, two, maybe three people sort of got together, picked a name, and that is that. Is that necessarily a good thing? We've seen this pattern with a whole host of other high-profile appointments as well, whether it's, appointments like the RBI governor, SEBI chairman, or any other sort of high-profile appointment. There seems to be a pattern in which these things get appointed. Low-profile people, don't let anyone even second-guess the name. Very, very, very few people in the know of what the process is. What do you make of this, Aarti?
Well, I mean, I think it reflects the nature of this government, where power is highly centralized in the hands of just, one or two people. And they are the only ones who know what decisions are going to be taken. All the important decisions are taken by just, basically by Amit Shah and Narendra Modi. And this is not really the first time, because I think Indira Gandhi was very much of the same mold. Certainly once she won that famous victory in 1971, on that Garibi Hatao platform. I think, she also centralized a lot of power in her hands, and a lot of times people around her had no clue what decision she was taking. She just took decisions with, by herself or with a small group of, close advisors, and the rest of the party didn't know. So it's not the first time that we're seeing this kind of centralization, but of course I think in this case the centralization is even more. And I mean, I think this is really a pattern that has established itself, and therefore I'm not surprised at what has happened. I'm also not surprised at the fact that it's such a non-controversial, low-profile person, because all of Modi's choices except Yogi Adityanath, if you look at his choice of chief ministers, they've all been, all cut of the same cloth as Kovind himself. And so I'm really not surprised, and it really reflects the nature of this government.
Jaggi, let you have the last word. Do you agree with Aarti there on a lighter note? Is there a lesson for the media as well, that the media should stop wasting newsprint in filing stories on likely candidates for all these positions? No one thought Yogi Adityanath would be the UP chief minister. No one thought, that Kovind is likely the next president of India. I think his name was nowhere in the consideration list. If you were to pick a sort of, all kinds of names did the rounds, but not his. So it's a lesson for the media as well. Stop speculating.
No, actually, there are two lessons here. One is, I agree with Aarti that this government keeps its decision close to the chest, and very few people outside the inner circle actually come to know of it till it's formally announced. Also, however, I feel that the media has not really understood the nature of the BJP and the key people in BJP. Unlike the previous administration, of the UPA, where you knew every possible MP and every possible leader in the Congress and the UPA and other things, and you actually had access to all of them. The media doesn't really understand who is who in BJP. If you leave aside 3 or 4 chief ministers and the Prime Minister and some of the few high profile ministers in the BJP like Jaitley and other things, the media doesn't really know who constitutes the bedrock of the BJP's core support base and key MPs, key this thing. I think there is a complete lack of knowledge there. If that knowledge was not missing, I think you would have a fair amount of ability to guess how the party is thinking. I think the media needs to understand the BJP and who are the silent people in the shadows who will suddenly come into prominence. And that is where I think the media needs to put in more efforts. I think it's as much a comment on the media as on the secretiveness of the BJP Central High Command.
Oh yes, and if you are someone who is sort of in the reckoning for any high-profile position in this government, the first thing you should do is ensure that the media doesn't speculate about your name, because if it does, your chances are next to nothing, isn't it? Jaggi and Aarti, on that note, thank you so much for joining in with that perspective on ET Now. Always appreciate your thoughts on ET Now. Thanks so much for joining in.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.